To show my competence for this job, for which I want to thank His Excellency the President for nominating me to be the CS nominee, Information, Communication and Digital Economy. I'll explain my experience in 5 main areas, starting with my research work, that I have done research that have informed policies in government ministry like Communication Authority, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and even for the creation of ICT Authority that was created in 2013, informed by a study or a research I did in 2007 on e-governance. For policy work, which again is key for this position, I've been involved in policy work, having participated in the development of the National ICT Policy 2006, but then also the current policy 2019, I actively participated. Honorable members, I've also been involved in strategy development, having been the secretary to the task force that developed the National ICT Master Plan 2014-2018. I was also one of the 4 key advisors to the government in the development of the current National ICT Master Plan 2022-2032. Honorable members, I've also been involved in implementation of projects. Having started my first 8 years of work, I did computer assembly, I did content development. I also implemented projects linking local communities with alternative technology. We called them telecenters then in the 1990s. So between 1998 to 2005, I developed or supported knowledge exchange among rural communities in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. I also did the telemedicine project for the African Union, for the African Medical and Research Foundation in 2005 that again connected rural hospitals to central areas where doctors can get alternative advice. At the regional level, I've done work. I was seconded to the African Union Commission from 2019 until 2023. While there, among the projects I implemented was the African Union digital transformation strategy, which I was key in developing. I was also involved in supporting African Union member states in establishing internet governance processes. I also supported capacity building across the African Union member states and organized local internet governance forums that informed regional Internet Governance Forum at the continental level and then at the global level, where I coordinated African Union work at the Global African Union Open Forum. Honorable members, I've also been involved in the development of the African Union Child Online Safety and Empowerment Policy that was passed early this year.
Thank you, Margaret. That will do. It's a rich menu of what you have done. I'll invite members to ask you questions relating to the competence to which you have been proposed. It may also veer into what you have done. So we will expect you, when you ask any question, to be concise and precise and to the point, so that we can manage our time well. But nonetheless, the questions will be virtually from almost every member here present. We'll start with the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and welcome, Dr. Ndungu. I have 2 brief questions. You're coming into office, if confirmed, at a time when Kenya is plans to digitize most of the government services. You're also coming at a time when we had challenges where some of our services like e-citizen have sometimes collapsed because they have been hiked. So the issue of cyber security and data security is rife. I'd like to hear your thoughts about it and what you would do if you came into office. And also the issue of the Cyber Crimes Act of Cap 79 of the Laws of Kenya and the Data Protection Act, Cap 411 of the Laws of Kenya. They were enacted by Parliament, hoping that they could stop computer misuse, cyberbullying, exposure of personal data, and also incitement, like we saw when we had the protest. What measures would you put in place to fully implement those particular acts of Parliament? Thank you.
Margaret. Nominee, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, through the chair. On the issue of government services, the government has digitized most of their system and most of the application to ensure that all citizens across the country are able to get government services from wherever they are. And while this has happened, one of the critical things that we must always remember is the challenge of connectivity in the rural areas. And as part of what the government has done is to ensure there is inclusivity. As if I am appointed or if this committee find it fit to approve my nomination, some of the things I will do is, first of all, to ensure that there is inclusion in the digital space. Then there is the issue of safety and security, which you have said that we need to work within the existing regulation. There is the Cyber Crime Act that clearly shows our behavior in the digital space, which again is governed also under the international laws. So that is an area that is of focus and which is critical for the sector. Going to your second question is about behavior in the digital space and in particular during the time protection of the personal data. Some of the measures that I will implement will be, first of all, enabling the right policies and regulations. We have the Data Protection Act, which is being enforced, but probably going by what we went through is consideration of whether it is inclusive enough. Do we need to do more regulations? Do we need to do more consultation? Because it is clear personal data is personal data, and people, our constitution clearly guarantee freedom of expression or freedom of the media, but then also there is the issue of privacy under Article 31. So again, what I will do is to work with all the stakeholders to ensure that we have the right policies, we have the right regulation, but then also they are enforced.
And then the cyber security, yes, because that's very important. Right now, Kenya doesn't have one central place where the security of their data. Every ministry works in its own silos, and that's why they can't read into each other. So just say about the cyber security. It was even rumored when we had a power blackout that it was a cyber security attack.
Yes, cyber security is a global challenge, not just in Kenya, and the approach will be collaborative, and we are talking of the various stakeholders within the industry and government agencies. So what I will do is again bring all the stakeholders in private sector, public sector, academia, develop data centers where government data can be hosted, and ensure that we have the right skills to manage these data centers. But then also, there is the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data, which again coordinates the work of in the cybersecurity and ensures that adjudication, if the attack is not from Kenya, again, we are able to deal with those kind of issues. So it will be harmonization, collaborative approach, enabling environment, then ensuring that we are storing our data in safe data centers that are governed or operated using, aligned with international rules and regulations.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Dr. Margaret. From your very rich CV, you have extensive experience working in the private sector and in consultancy. I was just wondering, one, you definitely have interacted with the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto that had a lot to do with the digital superhighway and the establishment of BPOs, the ICT digital hubs that members of parliament will be establishing in their constituencies. I'd want to hear how you would leverage from your experience, especially in the private sector, to get more people to invest in places like Konza Technopolis that has stalled largely because of inadequate funding. Whereas we have seen in the private sector, a place like Tattoo City, there are BPOs that are coming and setting up and creating employment for thousands of Kenyans. What will you do as a cabinet secretary if you are approved to encourage more investors like those that are going to private facilities like Tattoo City to go to Konza Technopolis? and other such investments in ICT hubs? How will you encourage and work with members of parliament in the establishment of digital hubs to be able to create online jobs for millions of our youth around the country?
Thank you.
That will be all for now.
Through the chair,
Yes, call me chairman or speaker.
through the Honorable Speaker,
Yes.
I'll answer the question from Honorable Ichung'wa. Yes, as one of the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is coming up with the superhighway, the digital superhighway, that is expected to be 100,000 kilometers, and that is being done in collaboration with the private sector. And the question is how we leverage the private sector. And to start with, the design of the cable is 52,000 by the government of Kenya and 48,000 in collaboration with the private sector. So as a ministry or as a government, what we need to do is to create an enabling environment, considering that this superhighway is inter-county, that is moving from one county to the other. So there is the issue of where live, is the issue of harmonization of policies from one part to the other. Again, we are saying that this superhighway is supposed to connect people up to the rural areas, and we are talking of 1,450 IHub at the constituency level. And with that, what we need to do, and in collaboration with the government, is again ensuring sharing of resources and infrastructure. And sharing of infrastructure, what I mean by this is looking at who is laying fiber across the country. We know the private sector is doing that, the government is doing that, including government agencies like the Kenya Power, like the Kentraco, sorry. So is collecting all that effort into one, but then also to support at the constituency level. We are working with the members of parliament and the community to ensure that these innovation hubs that are being created, there is sustainability in it. And one of the challenges that we have had in the past is having iHub or digital hubs without clear definition of clear idea of how they'll be sustained. With the change of the CDF Act that allows up to 2% of the total allocation to be used for recurrent expenditure, that is again one of the areas where we will be working with the private sector to come up with innovative ideas of how, first of all, to make this iHub productive. We need to link the work all to bring the young people in these constituencies to work in this iHub or to access information, starting from business information, information from the government, and to be innovative.
CS nominee, what I was asking in that, how will you come in, if approved, to facilitate members of parliament, because they will do the infrastructure, they will do the recurrent expenditure in the ICT hubs. The gap has been where the ministry comes in terms of provision of equipment, the computers, adequate and relevant training for, and having trainers of trainers who will go to the ICT hubs to actualize that program very quickly. That's what I wanted to hear your input. And one more question I'd forgotten. You seem very strong on the ICT sector, but there's also the communication bit of your ministry and regulation of the fourth estate. And we have seen in this country some players within the fourth estate, and that's the media, engage in what I would term as highly unethical behavior. What will you do to ensure that either the self-regulation that is there is actualized and indeed the media industry self-regulates, or what interventions will you put in place to make sure that we don't have a media that is unethical, that is inciting the members of the public, relaying images on our televisions that people should not be watching with their families? Where will you come in there?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The question is where the ministry come in, and probably to say the ICT Authority, which is a parastatal within the ministry, has been doing training across the country, and it is the one that second ICT staff to the ministries and the county level. So through the ministry, that is one of the areas where we will work with the county or members of parliament to provide the training, and with the 1450 constituencies and enabled by the technology.
1450 wards.
Yeah, 1450 wards and enabled by technology. That means for every county, we can have a contact person and we do train the trainer. So this first bunch, then we will use them to train the other. And probably we'll use the model that we used for the African Union Commission, because the training I have been coordinating is focused on the 55 African Union member states, and we can have a class of representative from each of these countries. So again, we can do the same at the national level, where we organize webinars, reducing cost of movement and the like, and ensure that we are impacting knowledge and skilling the people, and the focus being for socio-economic development. Because one of the challenges we have had is we have expanded connectivity. Everyone has a device, everyone has access, but the issue is what are we doing with this connectivity? And it is after establishing what we need to do for socio-economic development and contextualized for that particular constituency, that's when then we can create wealth, we can create jobs, and we can ensure that our young generation are productively engaged.
Junet?
Answer the second bit on for the state.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, for the second question, Honorable Member, is that, as you said, there is a need for ethical behavior in the way we behave. There are norms and confidence-building measures of, that are guided by our constitutions that our national interest must be first. And the media is regulated by the Media Act that stipulates the code of conduct for the media practitioners and journalists. And enforcement of that is critical, and then accompanied by the Data Protection Act that clearly shows what is private, what is not private. The expectation is self-regulation and self-censorship. But in the event that this does not happen, there are complaint mechanisms through the Media Council of Kenya and through the Media Complaint Commission where this can be followed. But the approach I will take, if approved by this committee, is collaborative approach, that first of all we need to spread national cohesion agenda, that national interest comes first, that the media has a role in terms of crisis, and it should not be seen to be escalating. It should be seen to be creating peace, love, and unity as per our aspiration in the country.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wanted to ask the nominee two issues. One is in this information age, and you know, Kenya remains vulnerable to computer misuse and cyber crimes. But Parliament had enacted Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, Cap 79C, and Data Protection Act 411C, to prevent that risk associated with those. But despite that, despite Parliament enacting those laws, people still experience cyberbullying, exposure of protected personal data, misinformation, disinformation, incitement, hate speech online, and those kind of things. Propaganda, incitement to violence. So what will be your plan to address those challenges? What do you think you can, as a minister, what measures will you put in place to make sure those things are addressed? That's one. The second one is about the media. You know, Article 35 of the Constitution. 34, freedom of the media. Very clear that says freedom and independence of electronic, print, and all other types of media is guaranteed, but does not extend to any expression specified under Article 33, which is very clear. Hate speech, propaganda to war, incitement to violence, advocacy of hatred, such kind of things. And also, the most important one is in the exercise of the right to freedom of expression, every person shall respect the rights and reputation of others. But now, are you going to be the kind of man, how far is your belief in the freedom of media? Are you the kind of person, when you get annoyed, you'll shut down the media and close them down, or break their equipment in the mountains? What is your view on that?
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Like when someone long time said, when you rattle a snake, if a snake is rattled, what will you do?
Thank you, the Honorable Member. I am a strong believer of the freedom of the media, being an information scientist, and also I believe that all the actors, while we have the media should be free, then it is their responsibility to be responsible and accountable. So there is a balancing act, and considering there are rules and regulations guided by the Constitution that defines our responsibilities, but then there are sectoral policies and regulation, starting with the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act that clearly stipulate what is considered a crime when you are using digital technologies, and the enforcing mechanism to ensure that everybody is safe and allowed to experience their freedom in the digital space. Again, the other thing of consideration is that international laws recognize cyberspace, and it's guarded by the same laws. So basically, again, is to align ourselves with what is happening internationally, because cyber security, cybercrime, all these issues of cyber hygiene, they are of global nature, and it's not only our country that is having these challenges. It's a global challenge. So again, is to align ourselves with what is happening globally. Again, the Data Protection Act, which again aims at protecting personal data and privacy, and that's another policy that needs to be enabled or to be strengthened to address these kind of challenges. And the other thing we said, self-regulation or self-censorship or every person, and recognizing that in digital space you are dealing with masses. So it's about always the media following their code of conduct. Is it the right information? Is it factual? Have they checked the integrity of the information? So those are some of the self-regulations that we'll be pushing as a ministry to ensure that when we are exercising our rights as per the constitutions, we are abiding by the rules at the same time.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Daktari, there's a place called Mulot in Bomet County. Mulot is where you have a group of young people who are extremely brilliant. They sometimes or occasionally misuse technology. They actually take money from your phone politely and have it deposited on their phones. Is there a way that, as a ministry, you can tap into the knowledge of these many young people so that you have what we'll probably call ethical hackers? Sometimes you find government systems collapsing because of hacking, yet you have a group of so many young people, brilliant young people, who you can tap their knowledge on technology and have them earn meaningful salaries. What is your view on that?
Leader, I want to confirm what Nelson is saying. I'm a victim, and we are in court with a very brilliant young man. It is real. What Koecha said is real. I'm a victim.
Is the young man brilliant, or the opposite is you?
You know, Speaker, I'm just confirming the brilliant nature of the young generation we're having, and the CS as he takes up the docket. You are not just.
And I said that in jest.
Yes.
It's okay.
She takes, if she is appointed by this committee, you are dealing with a young, vibrant generation, competent on IT.
Thank you. You have exhausted your right to ask another question. Yes. Naisula, let's take one or two, then you answer. If you ask short questions, we can take even 3 at a time.
I'm happy with 2.
2. Okay. So you have had Nelson with a rider from Honorable Mole. Now Naisula.
All right. I'll be direct because it's somehow been asked, because you've said the media has to be accountable and responsible. I want you to say it. What is being responsible and accountable? Because how do you plan to work with other government departments, ministries and agencies, including Parliament, to protect media freedom and secure public trust? The second question, revamping KBC. That has been a song every other day. and it's our national broadcaster. What are your thoughts about KBC and its current state and what it should be? The last one, yes, and I have to declare interest. I worked there for 7 years. Now, the government has also reported that since the beginning of the program on digital jobs, 390,000 youths have been trained, while the government has helped create 139,000 digital jobs for the youth. The problem, Madam Nominee, is that Kenyans have lost trust. You can't verify this information. You know, a leader just says, we've done this, we've done that. What will this ministry, or what will you do to ensure that this data can also be seen and be verified by Kenyans as you communicate your government or the current Kenya Kwanza achievements in a verifiable manner?
Nominee, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Members, for the question, and I'll start with the question from the Honorable Member Koech. The issue of young people being very competent, being savvy in technology and using it for the wrong things, and basically technology was developed to address emerging challenges, but there are other things, the side effects of the technology. And yes, we have seen that we have very competent young people, and we are talking of creating centers of excellence where we can start software development. And the reason I'm saying this is that so far we have been focused on our entry level.
Unachopata kwa kufikia malengo yako sio muhimu kama vile unavyokuwa na kujijenga katika safari ya kutimiza malengo haya.
Kupata malengo yako kama skiza tune yako, piga star 811 star 631 hash.
Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Wehotanira kinyagia maita 5,000 ma beti yaku teke. Yes, ni uhuthu. Hihinya star 675 hash. Uthake na namba 6 cia munyaka. Kumemwe ginya 6. Ikira muigano wa beti yaku kuma 50 tu wehotanira kinyagia maita 5,000 hau. Cheza kama wewe na cheza sita. Wigire mweke muhari miekene ya gutuika muhotani. Hihinya star 675 hash. Uthake o riu. Mundu utakinyetie miaka 18 na ndagathake. Thaka na uigirereki. Itangatho riri nirihitukie ni BCLB.
Kuma Kirinyaga, Kiri Biroiro, Kiajahi, Mutaburuko wa Nyandarua, Orerorera Kameme TV.